Hey everyone, it's Tim from Linessa Farms Specialty and Heirloom Livestock. Thanks for joining us again today. Do you use electric fence? You probably do. And if you don't, you're probably thinking about it because it's just one of those things that you almost have to have when dealing with livestock. Today, I want to bring you 5 tips that are going to help you out when it comes to your electric fencing. And I'm thinking some of these things are things that you've never even thought about before. Stay tuned to find out more. So first and foremost, I want to say that we're not getting any reimbursement from anyone for the products that we're going to talk about today. These are just products that I love to use and that work really well here on our farm. Some of these things aren't necessarily products at all. They're just things that I've come up with on my own through trial and error, lots and lots of error. I don't know about you, but I always say I would much rather learn from someone else's mistakes than make my own mistakes. So that's kind of what part of this is about. The first thing you got to have when you're dealing with electric fence, I don't care if it's high tensile fence or woven wire fencing or electrified barbed wire or whatever, is a fence tester. You got to have a fence tester because you have to know what is my fence actually putting out. And most of you are going to get testers something like this. It's going to have a ground rod and then it's going to have an actual tester. And while these things are great, they do lack a few things that I think you really need to have. The one thing that I don't like about them is the fact that you got to have the ground rod in place. But for general purposes, you would put your ground rod in place, and then you would bring this thing over and you would touch it to your fence and you would see what your reading is. So right there, you can see on this fence, I'm getting 9,000, about 9.5 thousand volts on my other hot wire. And see, here we go. Here's the thing. It's going to take time for it to air out. I don't even know if it's going to air out. Sometimes you got to unplug these things from the ground to get them to work again, or you got to wait for the battery to go out. And overall, while this thing works, it just doesn't work that well. And a lot of it requires a really good ground. It depends on how good your ground is. You can get bad readings. And the other thing that I don't like about them is if I do have a fault, it's not going to tell me where that fault comes from. So here's my solution. There's a couple different models of these. This is the one that I use. It's the Fence Doctor. A couple things that I like about this. One, it has no ground. I push the button, I hold it on there. It tells me how many volts I have. It tells me how many amps I have, and there's no ground at all. So I can just push the button, I hold it on there, and it tells me. So here's the difference right off the bat that we can see. This only reads up to 9.9 thousand volts. So this is telling me that I have 9.9 thousand plus volts going through this, where the other one told me I had less. The reason for that is the other one didn't have a very good ground. So I can check there. I can check any of my hot wires, just as simple as pushing the button and it goes. The other thing that's very interesting and that I like about this one is that if you happen to have a short in your line, if there happens to be something touching a line that's taking any of the power out of the line whatsoever, it's got an arrow that's going to actually light up and it's going to tell you the direction of the short. So for instance, I know I have a short on this middle line. So if you watch me, I'm going to touch this and you're going to see this. See that arrow, how that arrow lights up? That arrow is telling me the direction of the short. And in this case, the short is actually just a splice going into the line, but still it's going to show me where it's at. And I'm just going to follow that arrow until I get closer and closer and closer. Once I pass that short, the arrow is either going to go away or start pointing in the other direction. And it's just that easy. This thing pays for itself in time. You're going to look at the price of this thing and you're probably going to lose consciousness for a moment. This is about $100, but I'm telling you, if you've ever had a short in your fence, especially in high tensile wire, I've got over 1.5 miles of fence here. It takes a long time to walk a fence, and you've probably done this before. You walk and you walk and you walk, and you're like, oh my God, where is the short? And you can't find it, you can't find it. This takes all that time out. This thing most definitely pays for itself. We absolutely love this. So that's the first thing that we wanted to talk about is you absolutely have to get a good fence tester. Why would you need a kill switch? Well, the alternative is every time you want to turn your fence on and off, you're going to have to go in and physically unplug it or plug it back in. The answer that I found is a kill switch. This works out really, really well, especially when going in and out of the pasture or in and out of the dry lot where you just temporarily need to shut the power off and then turn it back on. Now, intuitively, you may think the best place to put a kill switch is up high where you can get to it with your hand. But the reality is when you're going in and feeding your animals, you may have noticed you're carrying buckets, you're carrying an animal. What if I'm carrying a lamb and I need to turn it off? What if I just want to toss a lamb over? I'm not going to toss a lamb, but what if I want to drop a lamb or a goat kid over top of this fence that's putting out 10,000 volts? Or what if I need to, like, you know, use my rear end to open a gate or do something like that? We've all done this before. So here's the thing that I want to tell you. When you put in your kill switches, you want to put them into where you can operate them with your feet. And if you look right here, here is one of my kill switches, okay? And the reason that this is where it is because I can easily reach up with my boot, and there, I just killed my fence. My entire fence is now dead. I don't have to worry about it. If you look, I can grab a hold of this fence right here and grab it. Even though I know it's not going to shock me, it still always makes me wonder for a brief second before I grab it. The fence is dead, and very easily I can just hit this with my foot and lock it back into place, and now the fence is hot again, okay? Always put it down at boot level. It works really well. These things are relatively inexpensive. You'll get pretty good at operating it with your foot, but man, this is great. If you're carrying buckets of feed or carrying an animal and you need to get to it, the best place to have it is down by your boot where you can get it with your foot. The other thing is you're usually a little insulated, so if you got some heavy dew in the morning or if you've gotten a little bit of rain, you don't have to worry about zapping yourself too bad. For those of you that have friends that are in sheep or goats, please let them know about our videos. Please let them know about our forum online, that Linessa Farms Tack Box. Please let them know about our feed supplements that you can find at foundationfeed.com. It is people like you that help our company and our business and our Facebook group and our social media groups and all of that grow and flourish. Everything we have is because of people like you and your willingness to share with others, and we greatly appreciate it. If you've got fences, you've got gates. It's just the way that it is. If you've got gates, you've got animals that are going to jump on the gates. They see you coming, they get excited. The easiest way to keep your animals from jumping on the gate or to have a temporary barrier is just to put up these spring gates. These spring gates work really, really well. They're relatively inexpensive. And if you look, I'll pull out my tester here and I'll actually test it and show you where we're at. So I'll pull out my tester here and I'm going to test this. There, it's at 9.9 thousand volts. It comes with an insulated handle. You can pick these up at any farm store for $15, $20. I can easily bring it over here and hook it on itself while I'm going in and out. And then when I need to hook it back up, I can just bring it over here and I can hook it up. What I like about this is it keeps the animals from jumping up on my gate and damaging my gate or ramming my gate. If they touch this, they're going to get shocked. They learn relatively quickly not to mess with it. And so that's kind of a non-issue. Now, I always like to know when my fence is on, and I don't always have my tester with me. So I have a product that I found a while ago that I like to use, and it tells me, no kidding, if my power is on. The other thing that I like to know is my power on when I'm in my house? You know, if I'm in my house and I'm relaxing and I'm like, man, I wonder if the fence is working. I wonder if the fence has gotten shortened out. I'll tell you what, this high tensile fencing works great when the animals are trained for it, but if this thing isn't got a lot of power going through it, it's not going to do you much good. So what I have here is I have a special light that's designed specifically for electric fencing. You can't do this with just any light. It has to be this specific one that's made for this kind of voltage and this type of a fence. And here it is. It's got two components to it, actually. It's got the flashing light, which I really like. It's got the clacker. You can hear that clacking sound. I don't know if you can hear it in there, and just attaches to a ground rod. So what's the benefit of this? Well, the benefit of this is I've got a couple of these positioned to where I can see them from pretty much anywhere in my pasture, from any of my gates. I can even see it from the window of my house. So I can go to my dining room and look outside at night and I can see this flashing light, and I know if my fence is working. The other thing that I like about it is, of course, the sound. I can listen or I can look during the day. This is bright enough that I can see it during the day. You know, I think this light itself, you can pick it up on Amazon or maybe Tractor Supply. I'm sure a lot of people carry it. It's not exactly cheap. It's about 30 bucks, but I'll tell you what, this thing really pays dividends and I really like it. I was just thinking, you know, one of our next videos that we're going to talk about that you're going to want to check out is going to talk about this stuff right here. This is clover, and we've also got some alfalfa right there. Well, actually, here's some alfalfa right here. Boy, this stuff looks nice. We've got our moms on dry lot right now, and we're getting to normal temperatures again here in Indiana, and it won't be long, maybe a week or two, we'll be back out here on pasture. But there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. We can't just turn our animals out on pasture because of things like this alfalfa and this clover here will cause them to bloat and die. So there's an art to it. There's an art to weaning our babies, getting our moms to where they're not making as much milk, and keeping them healthy. Obviously, if we were to throw them right out here on this, they're going to all get mastitis. They're all going to bloat, and we're going to have all kinds of problems. So our future video that's going to be coming up really soon, we're going to be talking more about that. So make sure that you keep us in mind, and we'll be talking about that soon. So what you can see here is our PVC pipe over top of a T-post. And when you are using temporary fencing, or if you need to pull a corner tight, you may have noticed before, like it's almost impossible to do, and you got to buy these really expensive attachments. You don't need to do that. What you need is a T-post and some 2-inch PVC. 2-inch PVC works fantastic because guess what? It slides right over top of a T-post. And you can pull your corners tight on this for your temporary fencing. This works great for electric netting. This works great for single strands. You can easily pull these T-posts up and out of the ground and use this anytime, and it works fantastic. I'm Tim from Linessa Farms, Specialty in Heirloom Livestock. Thanks for joining me again today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.